Nintendo has just spent all of 2018 focusing on 2018. They really haven't told us much about what's coming up in the new year. And I was curious as to when we should expect to hear a Nintendo Direct from them in January. And I started by looking at previous years. So if we go all the way, this is backwards here. Let me put this in the right order. If you go to Wikipedia, you can see all of the dates of the Nintendo Directs and what they were about. It's a pretty comprehensive list. And if we look in January of 2018, we had two Nintendo Directs, one on January 11th, one on January 30th. If we go back to 2017, that would be January 12th and January 18th. We had two Nintendo Directs. That's 2 for 2 now. And then, of course, there was another one in February, or two more in February. If we go back to 2016, this is before the Switch was announced, there was no January Direct. They had just had one in December of 2015 for Super Smash Bros. 4. And if we go back to the beginning of that year of 2015, they had a Nintendo Direct on January 14th. And if we keep going, January 17th, 2014. So I'm sensing a pattern here. And, you know, just looking at this doesn't mean that we're going to be definitely getting a Nintendo Direct this time of year, but it does make a lot of sense. They've just spent their whole year focusing on 2018, telling us what's happening in 2018. And, you know, we've got some games that they've either been delayed or not really talked about much, like Yoshi's Crafted World, Fire Emblem Three Houses, Metroid Prime, Animal Crossing. And there's a lot of people who have question marks floating above their heads wondering what is going on with these huge titles that Nintendo is going to be talking about in 2019. And I almost forgot Luigi's Mansion 3. We've got a lot of games coming up this year. And so I started thinking, I think that we will probably end up seeing a new Nintendo Direct. And I certainly won't call out a specific date, but my guess would be in the next 2 weeks. So probably by the 18th, we will have heard from Nintendo about when we will have a Nintendo Direct. And that's just a guess. I don't have any insider knowledge. I'm just looking at what's happened in the past. And I'm curious as to what exactly they're going to talk about. Like, how far along is the development on Animal Crossing? We know that they said that it's coming out this year. You know, I talked about it in an earlier segment about how Mr. Furukawa thinks that it's possible that they could still hit their 20 million mark. What if they had a Nintendo Direct and they said, oh, and by the way, Animal Crossing comes out in February? Like, that would be a huge, huge seller for Nintendo. And if you look at Animal Crossing New Leaf, it sold like gangbusters. It sold really, really well. I expect that the new Animal Crossing game, whatever it is, for the Nintendo Switch is going to sell equally as well, or probably even, well, maybe not even better. Right? There's a lot of 3DS machines out there, and they're pretty cheap to buy. Nintendo Switch is $300. That's kind of tough to swallow for a bunch of people in the family. So, you know, maybe whatever Animal Crossing comes out for the Switch won't do as well as New Leaf, at least not in the short run. But, you know, that's a kind of game that has a long tail, and people will play that for a really long time, and people will proselytize and say how amazing that game is, and sell it to other people by showing it to you. That's one of the advantages that the Switch has over the other systems, is you can be out someplace and you can be like, hey, look at this game. Isn't this awesome? And just, you know, show it to somebody, and they don't have to be at your house or have you just describe what's going on, like on the PS4 or the Xbox One. So I think that that would really, really help Nintendo sell a whole bunch more consoles in the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2018. Who knows? Maybe Luigi's Mansion is going to be leading off the charge. This is actually kind of interesting. Image and Form, which is a company that made SteamWorld Dig 2. It's one of my favorite games. I think it was from last year. I can't remember when I played it, but I adore this little Metroidvania game. It's so, so good. And since they announced it, they really haven't said much, or not since they announced it, since that game came out, they really haven't been saying much about it. They've ported some stuff over to Nintendo Switch, but the CEO of Image and Form, Mr. Brian Sigurdsson, sorry if I butchered his name, he said in a little 17-second YouTube video, "We will soon have some news for you. See you sooner than you think." And this has been a company that has been supporting Nintendo even during the Wii U era. You could get the SteamWorld games on the Wii U. You could get it on the 3DS, and it would make a whole lot of sense to have them leading off maybe a Nindies Direct, and to have a Nindies Direct happen in January. Maybe a what the heck do they call it? A mini Direct. In fact, if we look back at January 11th, 2018, they had a Nintendo Direct Mini, which focused on spring, summer 2018 Nintendo Switch games. And, that is something that I would expect Nintendo to maybe do again. I would like it more if they would focus on the first party stuff in a Nintendo Direct, but I haven't been terribly disappointed by what I've seen in the Nindy Direct. I've had a lot of fun with the indie games on the Nintendo Switch this year. So starting off next year, maybe with Image and Form talking about bringing whatever it is that they've been working on to the Nintendo Switch, I think that would be really cool. What do you guys expect for a Nintendo Direct in January? What day do you think it'll come on? I'm looking at the calendar once again, and maybe the 18th or the 11th. Although they don't always fall on a Friday. They could be on any day, really. But those are two pretty good days. Give people something to get excited about in fourth quarter this year to keep those sales rolling, so that they can hit their 20 million mark, and Mr. Furukawa can be looked upon with when he said it's still doable. It's a high bar, but we can clear it. I think it would be good for Nintendo to do that. So I would look forward to seeing a Nintendo Direct sooner rather than later.